The ballroom smelled of jasmine, champagne, and cold ambition. Crystal chandeliers dripped from the ceiling like frozen tears, lighting up silk gowns and diamond smiles. The city's richest and most ruthless had gathered under one roof for the exclusive Heir and Heiress Gala, a matchmaking event reserved for legacy families, business tycoons, and billionaires who played with empires like poker chip. Sania Mera didn't belong here. Not in a borrowed navy gown that didn't quite fit. Not in heels that pinched like sin. And definitely not carrying a silver clutch stuffed with her student ID and bus card. Her heart pounded in her ears as she took another step into the glittering chaos, hoping no one would notice her breathing like a cornered animal. "This is a terrible idea," she whispered to herself. "Too late now," came her best friend's voice through the earpiece. "Just smile. Pretend you belong. You're filling in for Ms. Chopra, who cancelled last minute. You're listed as her. No one checks ID at a gala." Sania swallowed. "I'm a broke literature student. I analyze Dostoevsky. I don't flirt with billionaires." "You don't have to flirt," her friend hissed. "Just sit, sip something sparkly, and don't get caught." "Too late." "Ms. Chopra," a smooth voice said. Sania turned, and forgot how to breathe. He stood at least a head taller than most men here. Sharp black suit tailored to a dangerous perfection. Hair slicked back like glass, and eyes colder than a locked vault. Arav Khurana, the youngest CEO in India's tech history. Known for hostile takeovers and glacial silence. Rumored to be allergic to affection and incapable of small talk. He'd agreed to this blind date only because the event was hosted by his mentor. And now he was staring at her. Sania forced a nervous smile. "Yes. I mean, hello. Hi." "Yes." Arav blinked slowly. His gaze flicked over her like she was a riddle he didn't remember solving. He said nothing. They sat. The silence was deafening. She could hear the clinking of cutlery around them, the rustle of silk, the soft laughter of couples already falling into arranged love stories. She took a shaky sip of her mocktail and pretended she didn't feel like a fraud. He watched her. Silent. Ice and steel. "I read about you," she said suddenly, her voice trembling but brave. "They say you built an empire from nothing." "They exaggerate," he said. Pause. "You don't talk much, do you?" she offered. His eyes narrowed. "I do. When someone says something worth replying to." Sania stiffened. Her smile wavered. Then, the MC's voice boomed over the speakers. "And now, a special moment. Our most anticipated match of the evening. Let's welcome Arav Khurana and Lavanya Chopra." Time stopped. Everyone turned. Sania froze. A gasp rippled through the ballroom. A woman in a blood-red gown stood up from across the room, the real Lavanya Chopra. She marched toward their table like a storm in heels. "What is this joke?" Lavanya snapped, pointing at Sania. "Who is she?" The cameras swiveled. Phones lifted. The entire event, now focused on her. Sania stood, heart in her throat. I'm just." "She's not Lavanya," Lavanya hissed. "She's an imposter. Who let this charity case in?" Laughter. Whispers. One man even clapped in mockery. Sania's ears rang. She turned to Arav. He was still seated. Still silent. Watching. Expression unreadable. He didn't defend her. Didn't speak. Didn't even blink. The humiliation surged in her throat like bile. Sania began, voice cracking. "I didn't mean, my friend asked me to." She conned her way in. Lavanya's voice sliced through. "Security!" Someone grabbed Sania's arm. She flinched. That was it. The flood of rage, pain, and raw indignity finally broke through the shame. She yanked her arm back, stepped onto the center of the ballroom floor, and grabbed the MC's microphone. Gasps erupted. Security froze. Sania's hands shook, but her voice was clear. "I'm not from your world," she said. "But at least I don't wear diamonds to cover up my emptiness." She turned to Lavanya. "You think money gives you worth? It doesn't. It just gives you a louder voice to embarrass people who can't fight back. She looked at Arav, straight into his cold, God-forsaken eyes. And you, she said, voice trembling with fury, you let it happen. You watched like it was a show. That's worse than betrayal, it's cowardice. The room went dead silent. Sonia dropped the mic, kicked off her heels, and walked out barefoot. Every eye followed her. Every camera rolled. And Arav Khurana? He remained seated. But his hand was clenched so tightly around his wine glass that it shattered. Rain fell in sheets, drowning the city in cold silver. Sonia stood at the bus stop, barefoot, soaked to the bone, clutching her heels like broken weapons. Her borrowed gown clung to her like shame, and every step she'd taken away from that cursed ballroom had felt like defiance, until now. Now, she was just a girl shivering at a bus stop, with mascara running down her cheeks and the world laughing behind her. And still, she didn't cry. Not once. Because she refused to give them that satisfaction. Not Lavanya. Not the crowd. Not Arav Khurana. The memory of his silence twisted like a blade. He hadn't said a single word, not to stop her humiliation, not to defend her, not even to apologize. He had just watched, like a judge behind a one-way mirror. And yet, when she'd looked into his eyes before leaving, there had been something there. Not pity. Not arrogance. Regret. She should have hated him. She wanted to. But part of her couldn't stop wondering why that man with the world at his feet had looked so unbearably alone. A black car screeched to a halt beside her. A sleek Bentley, windows tinted like secret. The back door opened. She stared. He stepped out. Arav Khurana. Still in that impossibly perfect suit, rain sliding off him like he was immune to the elements. His driver stood frozen behind him with an umbrella, unsure whether to offer it or not. Sonia's breath caught. "You followed me?" she asked, voice hoarse. He didn't answer at first. Just looked at her, soaked, shaking, defiant. "I didn't expect you to grab the mic," he said finally. She scoffed. "Disappointed I ruined your circus?" No, a pause. Impressed. That single word struck her like thunder. She blinked. "What? You didn't run. You didn't cry. You faced a room of vultures and made them flinch." She wrapped her arms around herself. "You let them tear me apart. You could have stopped it." "I could have," he said, voice low. "But I wanted to see what you'd do." Sonia laughed bitterly. "And? Was it entertaining?" He took a step forward, now just feet away from her. "It was unforgettable." Her heart stuttered, but her spine held firm. "You're insane," she said, staring him down. Arav tilted his head. "Maybe. But I owe you an apology. A real one." She raised a brow. "And I suppose you think an apology erases everything?" "No," he said simply. "But maybe it's a start." A gust of wind ripped through the street. Sonia shivered. "Come with me," he said. "There's something I want to show you." She narrowed her eyes. "I'm not a lost puppy. I don't jump into luxury cars with emotionally unavailable billionaires just because they say sorry in the rain." Something flickered across his face. Was it guilt? "I don't expect you to trust me," he said. "But this isn't about the gala. It's about you." "Me?" He reached into his coat and pulled out something, a photograph. He handed it to her. Sonia took it, hesitant. It was a grainy snapshot. A younger version of her, in a university volunteer t-shirt, kneeling beside a hospital bed. She was holding an old woman's hand, reading from a book. Her heart stopped. "I remember this," she whispered. "This was years ago. She was one of the cancer patients. I used to read to them. She liked poetry." "She was my mother," Arav said quietly. Sonia looked up at him, stunned. "I was there that day," he continued. "Outside the room. I saw how gentle you were with her. She died that week. But before she did, she told me about you." Her hands trembled. "I didn't know," she murmured. "I never forgot," he said. "You were just a student. No fanfare. No cameras. But you gave her something, peace. Silence stretched between them, thick with something heavier than rain. I arranged the blind date to meet you again, he said. But it wasn't supposed to happen like this. Sonia stepped back, breath catching. You orchestrated that night? Her voice cracked. You used me? No. I wanted to thank you. I didn't expect you to be the same girl. Fierce. Unbreakable. She shook her head, eyes burning. You should have told me. I didn't know how. A pause. The storm roared louder now. Lightning split the sky behind him. Come with me, he said again. Not as a favor. As a chance. Let me fix what I broke. Her chest ached with 1,000 unshed tears. She wanted to say no. She should say no. But something inside her whispered that if she walked away now, she'd always wonder what was behind that quiet sorrow in his eyes. Sonia looked at the photo again. Then at him. I'm not yours to play with, she said. If I come with you, it's on my terms. Arav nodded. Agreed. She took a step toward the car. And he held the door open for her, not like a prince offering a fairy tale, but like a man asking for a second chance. She hesitated, then got in. As the car pulled away into the dark, stormy night, neither of them spoke. But everything had already changed. The elevator rose in silence, its interior gleaming with chrome and dim golden light. The only sound was the soft hum of movement and the distant thrum of the rain still battering the world outside. Sonia stood stiffly near the back, drenched hair pulled over one shoulder, her eyes fixed on the blinking floor numbers. Arav Khurana stood inches away, hands in his coat pockets, expression unreadable. Every inch of him was control, composed, tailored, untouchable. But she felt the tension between them like static in the air. She wasn't supposed to be here. Not in the penthouse of India's most enigmatic CEO. Not in borrowed heels with rainwater still clinging to her skin. Not after being publicly humiliated just an hour earlier. And yet, here she was. Because he remembered a moment she had forgotten. Because he looked at her like she was the only real thing left in his glass and steel world. The elevator pinged. The doors opened onto a vast, softly lit space. It wasn't cold or corporate. Instead, it felt lived in. Muted earth tones, shelves full of books, a grand piano, and large floor-to-ceiling windows that opened into the dark skyline of Mumbai glittering in the storm. This doesn't look like what I expected from the cold CEO, Sonia said, stepping in cautiously. Arav removed his coat and tossed it onto a chair. What did you expect? Ice sculptures and a throne of money. She cracked a smile. Something like that. His eyes flicked toward her. A smile tugged at the corner of his lips, but it vanished as quickly as it came. He walked to the kitchen and returned with a warm towel and a fresh t-shirt. Here. Dry off. That gown's probably ruined. Sonia hesitated. I'll turn around, he said. She took the towel. You're still bossy. You're still stubborn. They didn't look at each other as she quickly dried her arms and shoulders, her breath catching when the chill finally eased. The cotton t-shirt smelled faintly of cedar and something unmistakably him. When she emerged from the hallway wearing it, oversized and casual, she found him by the window, staring at the city. You really remembered me? She asked quietly. He didn't turn around. After all these years? I never forget things that matter. Her throat tightened. Before she could respond, his phone buzzed on the table. He ignored it, but the name on the screen caught her eye before it dimmed. Lavanya. A fresh wave of ice ran through her veins. She called you, Sonia said, voice lower. She's been calling all night. I haven't answered. She humiliated me. I know. Why was she even at the date? Arav turned to face her. She wasn't supposed to be. My assistant, Ravi, he arranged the table. Lavanya must have caught wind of it. Sonia folded her arms. That still doesn't explain why she acted like you were hers. Because, he said slowly, she's been trying to be for the last 3 years. There it was. Sonia looked away, suddenly feeling foolish. So I was what, your way out? A distraction? No, he said sharply. You were the first thing I've wanted in a long time that wasn't about business, mergers, or appearances. Her heart thudded. But she didn't soften. You say that like it's supposed to be flattering. He moved closer. It's not flattery. It's the truth. They were now face to face, just a breath apart. Her eyes searched his. There was something broken there, something unspoken. You walk through fire for strangers, he murmured. But the second someone looks at you, really sees you, you flinch. I'm not flinching, she whispered. I'm protecting myself. From me. From men like you. The words hung there. Then, his hand lifted. Gently, he tucked a damp strand of hair behind her ear. Her breath caught. I'm not your enemy, Sonia. I don't know who you are yet. He stepped back, pain flashing briefly in his gaze. Then I'll show you. She turned away, struggling to control the riot in her chest. This wasn't what she wanted. Wasn't how she planned anything. But her guard was crumbling, piece by piece. Behind her, he cleared his throat. You start a new semester next week, right? She turned slowly. How do you know that? I read your file. After that night in the hospital, I asked my team to keep tabs on you. Quietly. No interference. Her mouth parted. You've been watching me? He nodded. Not to manipulate. Just to see how far you'd go. You worked 2 jobs. You got scholarships. You never once took the easy road. A long pause. That's why I remembered. Sonia stared at him, every wall shaking now. She didn't want to admit it, but something about this man saw her more clearly than anyone ever had. Still, trust didn't come easily. Then prove it, she said finally. Not with grand gestures. Just be real. His expression changed. I can do that. Another silence. But it felt warmer now. Like something new was beginning to breathe between them. Until the intercom buzzed. Arav answered. His jaw clenched as the voice came through. Sir, there's a situation downstairs. Lavanya Kapoor is here. She's demanding to see you. Sonia's body went rigid. Arav didn't look at her. Tell her I'm unavailable, he said coldly. But Sonia's heart was already sinking. Too late. Too messy. Too many shadows between them. And as the night deepened, one thing was clear. This wasn't over. The storm outside had calmed, but inside the penthouse, the air was about to rupture. Sonia stood frozen near the window, her reflection warped by the glass and city lights. She could still hear the security guard's voice over the intercom. Lavanya Kapoor is here. She's demanding to see you. Arav's eyes locked on hers, unreadable. You don't have to leave, he said. Her chest tightened. She came here for a reason, Arav. Don't pretend I'm not the reason she's furious. She's always furious. That's not your fault. Maybe not. But I'm not stupid either. Her voice shook, not with fear, but with the cold bite of reality. Women like Lavanya don't just show up without ammunition. Arav turned toward the intercom panel and pressed a button. Send her to the conference lounge. Not the main hall. Then he turned to Sonia. You want the truth? He said quietly. Stay. 5 minutes later, Lavanya Kapoor swept into the sleek conference lounge like a storm dressed in couture. Her heels clicked across the marble. Her makeup was perfect, too perfect like armor. But her eyes? Unforgiving. I must say, Arav, when you said you were over me, I didn't think you meant this. She gestured toward Sonia, who sat calmly on the opposite end of the table, in Arav's oversized shirt and unshaken poise. Sonia met her gaze without flinching. Hello again. Lavanya's lips curled. Still playing the helpless charity case? You do clean up decently, for a student. Enough, Arav cut in. His voice wasn't loud, but it cracked like thunder. You're not here to insult her. Lavanya didn't back down. She pulled out a sleek tablet from her handbag and tossed it on the table. Then maybe you'd prefer to hear what your honest little date has been hiding. Sonia blinked. Excuse me. Let's play a game. Lavanya smiled. 2 truths and a lie. Lavanya, Arav warned, but Sonia held up a hand. No. Let her talk. Lavanya tapped the tablet. A screen lit up with a series of photos and files. Some of Sonia at the hospital, some of her submitting applications, and one that made Arav go rigid. A grainy image of a teenage Sonia arguing with an older man outside a courthouse. The caption beneath it read, Court Hearing, Arav Khurana vs. Rajiv Malhotra, Embezzlement Case, 2017. Sonia went pale. Lavanya leaned in, victorious. You see, darling, our broke little heroine isn't just any poor student. Her father was one of the men who nearly ruined the Khurana Empire. The man your family dragged to court for stealing millions from your mother's foundation. Arav's jaw clenched. I didn't know, Sonia whispered. Her voice was almost inaudible. I didn't know you were that Khurana. But you knew your father, Lavanya snapped. You knew the scandal, the trial, the name. And yet you still accepted a blind date with him. I didn't accept anything, Sonia said, now louder. I was tricked into showing up. Lavanya, you were there. You saw it. But her voice cracked, because the shame of that day still lived in her. Arav's hands gripped the edge of the table. Is this true, Sonia? She looked at him. The man who had stood up for her, protected her, seen her. Tears prickled in her eyes. Yes, she said. It's true. My father made choices I'm still paying for. But I'm not him. I've never taken anything that wasn't mine. I didn't even know who you were at the hospital. I didn't care. I just helped you. Her voice broke then. Because someone needed help. Lavanya stood, triumphant. There you go. She's not a mystery, Arav. She's a revenge story waiting to happen. Leave, he said. Lavanya froze. What? Arav turned, eyes. You came here to start a war. But all you proved is how low you'll go to keep control of something you never had. She opened her mouth, but no words came. He pointed to the door. Get out. Lavanya left in silence, heels echoing down the hall like fading gunshot. Later that night, Sonia stood by the door, coat in hand. I should go, she said. You don't have to. I do, she replied. I didn't lie to you, Arav. But I also didn't think it mattered, until tonight. He walked toward her. You matter. That's the problem. Her eyes met his. What happens now? His voice dropped. That depends on whether you still trust me. A pause. Then she stepped closer, looked him straight in the eye, and said, I trust myself. And I still see you. And she walked out, leaving him alone in the penthouse with the storm behind the glass. This time not outside, but inside him. The gala lights glittered like stars, but Sonia's heart thudded like war drums. Cameras flashed, champagne flowed, and laughter echoed through the glass-walled ballroom of Khurana Tower's 42nd floor. But all Sonia could hear was the sound of her breath, tight, shallow, trapped in her throat. She shouldn't be here. Not in this silver dress borrowed from the wardrobe assistant. Not standing beneath chandeliers meant for royalty. Not holding a crystal flute as if she belonged. But Arav had insisted. Come, he'd said hours ago. If we hide, Lavanya wins. So she came. And now, Lavanya stood across the ballroom in crimson silk, circling like a lioness. Ready to strike. Developing the confrontation. Sonia felt the weight of eyes on her. The board members, the gossip columnists, the women with glass-cut cheekbones and pedigrees stitched into their skin. Her hands trembled. Then she saw him. Arav. Dressed in midnight black, jaw tense, his eyes scanned the room, searching for her. When he found her, something in him eased. His shoulders dropped. But his eyes, those cold, obsidian eyes that the world feared, softened only for her. He crossed the room slowly, deliberately, until the entire crowd parted for him like sea from stone. Sonia, he said. Everyone's staring. Let them. His voice was low. They stare because they're scared. Of you. He looked at her, something flickering in his gaze. No. Of what they can't control. Rising tension. Before she could reply, a voice slithered in from the side. Well, this is sweet. Lavanya. She held her champagne like a weapon, gaze flicking from Sonia's borrowed gown to Ariv's clenched fist. You really do have a savior complex, Ariv. First the hospitals. Now the orphans. Sonia opened her mouth, but Ariv beat her to it. Stop. Lavanya laughed. Don't tell me you're falling for her. You know what people are calling this? Khurana's charity fling. Sweet, isn't it? The crowd was listening now. Phones lifted discreetly. Do you really think a girl like her fits in our world? Lavanya went on, voice velvet-wrapped venom. Her father stole from your family. Her mother disappeared. And now she shows up here. What? For redemption? Or revenge? Sonia stepped forward. And slapped her. The sound cracked through the ballroom like lightning splitting sky. A collective gasp followed. One woman dropped her glass. Sonia stood firm, her voice calm but shaking. You don't get to decide who belongs, Lavanya. Not here. Not anymore. Lavanya's eyes widened, not with pain but with disbelief. You just made a very big mistake, she hissed. No, Ariv said, stepping between them. You did. The moment you turned this into a circus. Then he turned to the crowd. If anyone here has a problem with the woman I brought, you're free to leave. This isn't a monarchy. And I don't host cowards. Silence. Then, as if cued by fate, applause began. First quiet, hesitant, then louder. Lavanya stormed off, her crimson train hissing behind her. Emotional peak. But Sonia wasn't relieved. She turned to Ariv, breath ragged. You just burned half your reputation. For me. You're not a charity case, Sonia. You're not a secret. And I'm tired of pretending I don't feel. She pulled away. No, she said softly. You don't get to choose me only when it's convenient. His brows furrowed. I'm not. Yes, you are, she cried, tears brimming now. You say I'm not a secret, but you never asked what I've been carrying. You want to fight for me in public, but in private you're still guarded. Still angry. Still cold. He flinched because it was true. Do you even want to be with someone who reminds you of everything your family lost? He didn't answer. And that was answer enough. Cliffhanger ending. Sonia stepped back, took off the diamond earrings he'd had delivered that morning, and placed them gently into his hand. I can't fight for both of us, she whispered. And she walked out. This time, Ariv didn't stop her. But as the elevator doors closed behind her, his hand curled into a fist around the earrings. And for the first time in years, the cold CEO's heart cracked wide open, and he didn't know how to stop the bleeding. 3 days. That's how long it had been since Sonia walked out of the gala with tears in her eyes and strength in her spine. 3 days since she returned the earrings and left Ariv standing beneath 1,000 lights that couldn't warm him. 3 days of silence. And today, the front page of the Daily Fortune had his name and hers, side by side. Khurana's broken engagement, or just a beginning? Sonia stared at the headline, heart pounding. Because beneath it, bold and defiant, was a quote. I didn't lose her. I let her go before I broke her completely. Ariv Khurana. She dropped the paper. Setting the stage for redemption. The sky outside her hostel window was gray, heavy with monsoon clouds. A breeze whispered through the cracked pane, stirring the curtain and her guilt. She hated herself for missing him. But she hated him more for making her feel like a question mark in a life she never asked to be part of. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She ignored it. It buzzed again. A message this time. Come to the orphanage at 5 p.m. If I can't show you I've changed, I won't call again. It was unsigned. But she knew. Of course she knew. The confrontation reimagined. The orphanage courtyard smelled of wet earth and sandalwood. The monsoon had just passed, and children laughed somewhere in the back garden, barefoot, wild, free. And standing beneath the neem tree where she once bandaged a boy's scraped knee, was Arav. Not in his three-piece suit. Not with security or cameras or ego. But in jeans and a linen shirt, sleeves rolled, palms stained with paint. He looked up when she approached, and his breath caught, just like it always did when it was her. Heartfelt dialogue and emotional shift. "You built this," she said softly, glancing at the freshly painted mural behind him. It was a wall of stars, each one bearing a child's name. "They wanted constellations," he said. "Said they wanted proof someone would always watch over them." She hesitated. "You could have sent money. You always do." "I'm tired of sending things, Sonia," he said. "I want to show up. I just didn't know how." Her arms wrapped around her chest, shielding herself from his closeness. "I wasn't angry because of Lavanya or the gala," she said. "I was angry because I fell in love with someone who couldn't even admit he was scared." His eyes shimmered. "I am scared," he whispered. "Every damn day. You made me feel again, and I didn't know how to handle that." He took a step forward. "I keep thinking about that night. The look in your eyes when you walked away. I thought I was strong. Untouchable. But you? You shattered me." Sonia looked up. "And what now? You bring me here to what? Apologize?" "No," he said. "I brought you here to show you something." He walked her to a small wooden door. Opened it. Inside was a quiet room filled with books. A library. And on the shelf, new, gleaming, stamped with her name in gold leaf, was a scholarship plaque. The Sonia Foundation, for girls who dare to dream. The emotional climax. Her knees nearly buckled. "You did this," she whispered. He nodded. "You once said you felt invisible. Like the world was too loud to hear girls like you. I want to make it quieter. I want to listen, starting now." Tears spilled down her cheeks, uninvited, but unashamed. "I didn't need a foundation, Arav. I needed to know you saw me. Not as a debt. Not as a scandal. But as me." "I do," he said, stepping close, gently wiping her cheek. "God help me, I do." She hesitated, then leaned into him. Not because she was weak, but because she chose him. And in that moment, Arav Khurana, billionaire, boardroom king, cold-blooded CEO, wrapped his arms around a broke student girl and breathed for the first time. Ending with poetic justice and redemption. Outside, the children laughed louder. The wind carried jasmine and hope. Inside, two broken people held on. And somewhere deep within the Khurana Empire, a resignation letter was being typed. Lavanya Mehra, removed for breach of ethics and abuse of power. Her reign was over. The board had voted. Justice. Quiet, final. But Sonia didn't care. Because love had finally arrived, not in flowers or fairy tales, but in truth. And this time, he wasn't going to let her go. Let me know if you'd like a final epilogue, a YouTube script version, or a visual story concept for this ending. Tools.